The scent of the Gray family estate was always the same: expensive pine, cinnamon, and the overwhelming stench of fake perfection. But tonight, it felt more like a trap. I stood in the center of the grand living room, my fingers tracing the edge of a cream-colored gift box wrapped in ivory silk. My mother, Eleanor, had just presented it to me in front of 30 guests at my younger sister Chloe's engagement party. "Go ahead, Angela," my mother urged, her voice dripping with that manufactured sweetness she reserved for an audience. "Open it. We know the holidays are hard for you." I pulled the ribbon. Inside was a lifetime VIP membership card to an elite dating app explicitly marketed to desperate singles over 30, and beneath it, a hardcover book with raised gold lettering, "How to Find Happiness When You Die Alone." The room went dead silent. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the Seattle rain beat against the glass, but inside, the chill had nothing to do with the weather. Chloe giggled. The sound bounced off the vaulted ceiling like breaking glass. "I saw it on TikTok," my sister beamed, adjusting her 3-carat diamond ring so it caught the chandelier light. "5 stars for women who've just given up. We're just worried about your future, Angie. Don't let your ego turn you into a spinster." My father, Robert, stood by the bar cart, swirling bourbon in his crystal glass, saying absolutely nothing. His business partner, Marcus Sterling, looked incredibly uncomfortable. Julian, Marcus's son, who happened to be Chloe's fiancé, suddenly found his phone very interesting. Any decent person would be uncomfortable. For 29 years, this was my reality. I was the scapegoat, the quiet architect who built skyscrapers but couldn't build a bridge to my parents' hearts. Chloe was the golden child, the influencer, the one who never did wrong. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted to run out those massive oak doors, drive to the airport, and fly back to my home in Austin. But I was so deeply tired of running. "Perhaps we should move to the dining room," Marcus suggested, trying to cut the tension. "I believe dinner's ready." Chloe smirked at me. She thought she had won. She always won. Except tonight, something inside me didn't break. It shifted. The chains I'd been dragging around my whole life, the ones labeled good daughter and maybe if you try harder they'll love you, finally snapped. I didn't cry. I looked up and my eyes met Chloe's. I watched her triumphant expression falter just a fraction. There was something in my face she didn't recognize, something cold, clean, and final. "Thank you, Chloe," I said, my voice smooth and perfectly pleasant. "It's a very thoughtful gift. I'll keep it." I tucked the box under my arm like evidence, because that's exactly what it was. 10 minutes later, we were seated at the dining table. The crystal glasses clinked, and my mother tapped her spoon against her water glass to make an announcement. "Before we begin," my mother projected her voice perfectly, "I want to toast to this very special season, the year of the bride. My youngest daughter will be married this February in what I can only describe as a modern royal event. 300 guests at the Four Seasons." Chloe beamed. Her fiancé, Julian, shifted uncomfortably. He was a corporate lawyer, a man who valued integrity. I always wondered how he ended up with my sister. "Chloe has always known how to do things properly," my mother continued, her eyes swinging toward me like a sniper's laser. "With grace, with consideration for the family. But what about you, Angela? You're 30 next month. You can't plan to live with your architecture blueprints forever, can you? When is it your turn?" The question hung in the air like smoke. The catering staff literally froze mid-pour. I set down my silverware. The clink of metal on porcelain sounded deafening. "I'm not single, Mom," I said. The words came out steady, like I was commenting on the weather. My mother blinked. "Excuse me?" "I've been married for 8 months." My mother's face cycled through 3 distinct emotions in 2 seconds: confusion, disbelief, and absolute rage. Liar! The word exploded out of her mouth. Her hand slammed onto the table. Why would no one know about this? You secretly eloped in Vegas, didn't you? To embarrass us? Is that why you've been avoiding us? Chloe's face went pale, but she recovered fast. She always did. Are you making up stories to ruin my engagement party? Chloe's voice cracked perfectly, hitting that sweet spot between wounded and innocent. She turned to Julian, grabbing his arm. She's always been jealous of me, but this is pathetic. I didn't look at Chloe. I looked at Julian, whose lawyer brain was clearly running calculations. I didn't elope in Vegas, I said. My heart was hammering against my ribs, but my voice remained deadpan. I had a beautiful ceremony at a vineyard in Texas, and I sent invitations via FedEx overnight back in February. My father's glass hit the table hard. If you sent invitations and didn't get a reply, Angela, you did this on purpose, to humiliate this family in front of the Sterlings. And there it was, the gaslighting, the rewriting of history. I had spent 8 months thinking my parents had ignored my wedding because it wasn't high society enough for them. But looking at their genuinely furious faces, a new truth clicked into place. They didn't forget. They never knew. The architect in me took over. The part of my brain that knows how to read blueprints, calculate load-bearing walls, and understand exactly where pressure needs to be applied for a corrupted structure to fail. Under the table, hidden by the white linen cloth, I pulled out my phone. I opened my messages and texted my husband, David, who was sitting in our home office 2,000 miles away in Austin. I typed one word: now. The message showed as read. I stood up from the table. Actually, I announced, I think we should skip dessert. There's something everyone needs to see. I walked toward the adjoining sitting area. Above the marble fireplace was an 85-inch smart TV, currently displaying a digital, looping video of a cozy fire. Angela, sit down, my mother snapped, using the sharp tone that used to send me running to my childhood bedroom in tears. Not tonight. You always believe Chloe unconditionally, but have you forgotten what my husband does for a living? Total silence. David is a senior cybersecurity analyst, I said casually. He works for a firm that protects Fortune 500 companies from data breaches. And I designed the electrical and smart home system for this very estate 5 years ago. You hired me fresh out of grad school to save money, remember? I installed every smart hub, every security camera, every network sensor. I turned back to the TV just as the virtual fire screen flickered and went entirely black. Angela stood up, her voice suddenly shrill. What are you doing? Turn that off! The screen lit up again. It wasn't a TV menu, it was a computer desktop. In the corner, a small white text box read, Remote access activated. My dad stood up. Angela, this is highly inappropriate. I recommended you change the master admin password 5 years ago, Dad, I said, pacing slowly. I even emailed you twice about it. You never did. Julian, Chloe's fiancé, leaned forward. His eyes were glued to the screen. This is illegal, Chloe panicked, her hands trembling. You hacked us. Actually, it's not, I replied calmly. I am the registered system administrator on the house's network. I have full legal access. David is just helping me retrieve my own files. On the massive screen, the mouse cursor moved on its own. It clicked open a folder labeled Project Truth. Evidence Item 1, I narrated, like I was presenting a project to a client. A high-definition image filled the screen. It was a FedEx delivery receipt. The date was February 12th. The signature on the bottom was clearly visible in looping, elegant handwriting. Chloe Gray. "That's my signature," Chloe blurted, her voice losing its hysteria, replaced with defensive panic. "So what? I sign for packages all the time. I get PR packages for my Instagram every single day. You expect me to remember one random box from 8 months ago?" I smiled, a smile full of pity, the kind you give a child who tells you the dog ate their homework when you can see the torn paper in their pocket. She was pivoting, reframing herself as the victim of a simple mistake. "You're right. Memory is a tricky thing. Let's look at evidence item 2. The screen shifted. The receipt disappeared, replaced by a screenshot of my mother's email inbox settings. There was the list of filters, but one was highlighted at the top with a red flag. Rule name? Wedding block. The parameters read, "If subject contains wedding and Angela, then delete permanently. Do not archive." The creation date on the filter was February 14th, 2 days after the FedEx package was delivered. This filter was installed from an IP address that traces directly back to Chloe's iPhone, the same device she uses to post her daily vlogs. My mother sat frozen, her hand pressed to her throat. She looked at the screen, then at Chloe. "Chloe, you hacked my email?" "No, Mom, you asked me to help manage your charity emails because you get overwhelmed," Chloe stammered, her face turning crimson. "I was protecting you. Angela sent those invitations last minute for some shabby barn wedding in Texas. I knew you'd stress about the image, about what your country club friends would say. I hid them to protect the family from embarrassment." It was brilliant in a deeply disturbed way. In 30 seconds, she tried to reframe a malicious act of sabotage into an act of protective love. But Julian wasn't buying it. He looked at Chloe like he was staring at a stranger. "Did you throw the invitations in the recycling bin, or did you hide them somewhere safe to give them to later?" "I hid them," lied Chloe instantly. "I was going to tell them eventually." I nodded toward the screen. "David, play the video." The screen flickered, and crystal clear 4K security footage filled the 85-inch display. It was from the camera mounted above the side entrance, overlooking the driveway and the trash bins. The timestamp read February 12th, 10:14 a.m. The video showed the FedEx driver handing Chloe a blue package. She smiled, signed for the package, and closed the door. 30 seconds later, Chloe walked out the side door. She wasn't just carrying the box. She had ripped it open. On the massive TV screen, in dead silence, everyone watched as Chloe pulled out 4 beautifully wrapped velvet invitation boxes, the invitations I'd spent weeks designing and tying by hand. She didn't hesitate. She didn't look conflicted. She hurled them directly into the garbage bin like they were rotten food, wiped her hands on her yoga pants, and walked back inside. The video ended. The screen went black. The silence in the dining room was suffocating. Julian was the first to move. He stood up so abruptly his chair tipped backward and crashed onto the hardwood floor. He looked at Chloe, his face a mask of absolute disgust. "You threw your own sister's wedding invitations in the trash?" Julian asked, his voice deathly quiet. "Because you were afraid her wedding would steal the spotlight from your engagement year?" "Julian, please, I wasn't thinking clearly." Chloe reached for his arm. He jerked away as if she had burned him. "You handed her a book about dying alone tonight. You smiled while you did it, knowing she was married, knowing what you did. He shook his head. I wanted to build a life with someone who has integrity. I cannot marry a monster. The word hung in the air. Monster. Before Chloe could even scream, Julian reached out, grabbed her hand, and pulled the 3-carat diamond engagement ring off her finger. He placed it on the dining table. The deliberate click of the metal hitting the wood echoed like a gavel dropping. "We're done," Julian said. My mother surged to her feet. "Julian, wait! Let's not be hasty! We can fix this!" "Fix what, Eleanor?" It was Marcus Sterling, Julian's father and my dad's business partner. Marcus stood up, buttoning his suit jacket. His face was carved from granite. He looked at my father. "Robert, I've always believed that a man who allows deceit to fester in his own home cannot be trusted to manage a business transparently. Your daughter committed federal mail tampering, and your wife enabled her entitled behavior." My father went pale. "Marcus, the corporate merger. We sign the papers next month." "Consider it canceled," Marcus said coldly. "Sterling Group will not be doing business with the Gray family. Julian, let's go." It was a $50 million deal. Gone in 5 seconds. The realization hit my father like a physical blow. He collapsed back into his chair, staring into the void. Chloe broke down, real hysterical sobbing. She whirled on me, her makeup running down her face. "This is your fault. You ruined my life. I have 2 million followers on social media, Angela. I'll destroy you. I'll tell everyone you framed me." "You won't do anything," I said softly. The authority in my voice stopped her mid-sob. I walked over to the table, picked up the cream-colored gift box, the dating app card, and the book on dying alone. I placed them gently right in front of Chloe. "Keep these," I told her. "You're going to need them more than I do." I turned to leave. As I walked past Marcus and Julian at the front door, Marcus gave me a single respectful nod. I didn't need their validation, but I recognized it for what it was. "Angela, wait!" my mother cried out from the dining room, sounding desperate, small, and finally broken. "Please!" I didn't stop. I walked out the massive front doors into the freezing, clean Seattle air. My Uber was waiting in the driveway. As we pulled away, I looked back at the grand estate. Every window was blazing with light, but I knew exactly what it was. A beautiful, hollow shell with absolutely nothing real inside. 3 days later, I was back in Austin, unpacking groceries in my sunlit kitchen while David worked at the island counter. A FedEx truck pulled up outside. The driver dropped a flat, square envelope on our welcome mat. I opened it. Inside was a cashier's check for $50,000, along with a typed note on my father's corporate letterhead. "Angela, I am sorry. Please do not release that video. Stay silent about the contract falling through." I stood in my kitchen holding the money. A younger version of me, the girl who just wanted her dad's approval, might have cried. She might have cashed it, hoping it meant he finally valued her. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I walked over to the trash can and tore the check perfectly in half, then into quarters, then into confetti. I took my phone out, snapped a picture of the shredded check, and opened the Gray family group chat. I uploaded the photo with one final message. "I don't sell my peace, and I don't negotiate with toxic people. Consider the video a parting gift. Do not ever contact me again." I hit send. I didn't wait to see the red receipts. I went to the settings, tapped Leave Group, and permanently blocked their numbers. David walked over, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. He rested his chin on my shoulder. "Is it done?" he asked gently. "Yeah," I smiled, leaning back into his warmth. It's finally done. You see, society tells us that we have to forgive family no matter what. They tell us that blood is thicker than water. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes you have to burn the dead grass so a new garden can grow. I didn't take revenge by destroying my sister's life. She destroyed her own life the moment she threw my love in the garbage. I just provided the screen and the high-definition playback. The greatest revenge isn't anger. It's not violence. It's the absolute, unbreakable peace you find when you stop trying to prove your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. I am Angela Gray, and my blueprint for the future has never looked brighter.